I think about Amphibia, its pieces, its shortcomings, its goals, it inspires me. What Amphibia is and what Amphibia tries to be, I think, are different things. It's a show where the pieces don't always connect, but what you have is beautiful. This is what I wish to understand. This is what I wish to discuss. Amphibia spends a lot of time in Wartwood, but I feel it doesn't truly shine until we get to see newer places. Tunnels under the earth, temples of ancient origin, vistas of grand cities, and rumors of the people within them. Amphibia thrives when the family is forced to seek other horizons, when they are compelled to walk new paths. The places they go form the foundation of their change. The moments when the tone shifts to a shade more personal, to a mood harsher, is when I am enthralled. In these moments, jokes or not, Amphibia exhibits a tension towards the human condition that I seldom witness. It envelops me in richness of character, in power of tone, and I am compelled to be an observer. To speak of Amphibia, to speak of its engagement, of its joy, is to speak of its characters. Marcy Wu, a being of wonder, a ray of light, is sunshine wherever she goes. Grime, a washed-up captain, is a force in of himself. His growth, his love, is one of my favorite aspects of the series. Amphibia doesn't pull its punches, but, like all art, can be given critiques. Here are mine. There are smaller things. The ages of the trio are 13 when they should be 16. Not a big change, but enough to make a difference. I sometimes wonder, can Hop Pop cook? Does Anne cook for the planters? This isn't a large question, but it's one I would like the answer to. These questions are valid, but they don't break the story. They are merely personal preferences. One element that Amphibia has an issue with, in my opinion, is a problem I deem empathy over perspective. I used to think, when I was younger, that storytelling was about empathy, about connecting the audience to your characters. While connection can be a powerful force, it's only useful for the means of creating perspective. The plot of 226 involves Ivy's mother, Felicia, being overbearing. Ivy wants to catch bugs with Sprig, but her mom is too critical of Ivy's chores. She gets in the way of Ivy's life. Ivy briefly decides to run away, and Felicia follows. Felicia agrees to let Ivy go if she wins a fight between them. Ivy thinks this will be easy. In the end, though, Ivy is outmatched, and only by using her mom's tea lessons can Ivy win the fight and get an explanation from her mother. Felicia explains that she is preparing Ivy to join her on future adventures. Ivy, a newfound respect for Felicia, hugs her mom, and all feels right. To me, this episode feels unsatisfying. What is missing in this episode, in my opinion, is a consistency of voice. This need not be artistic voice, simply the voice of a storyteller. In the beginning, the episode shows Felicia being overbearing and overly critical. From the perspective of Ivy, this makes sense. Ivy wants to catch bugs, her mom is making her do chores again, and Ivy is annoyed by this. So in this scene, Felicia is portrayed as being overly critical, to empathize the audience with Ivy. The problem is that if you portray Felicia as being overly critical, you are portraying the perspective that Felicia is overly critical. If we focus too much on Ivy's perspective, that feeling becomes what the story is saying, rather than just what Ivy is feeling. This is not something bad, but only if the point of the story is that Felicia needs to change. If Felicia needs to learn to let Ivy go, then feeling for Ivy and portraying Felicia as overbearing makes sense. However, later in the episode, Felicia is portrayed as in the right. This portrayal, while different, is consistent with how Ivy sees her mom. At first, her mom seems overbearing, but later, her mom is seen as wanting what's best for her. However, this shift in perspective from the point of the story is jarring. Ivy's opinion about her mother can change, but the story's opinion about her mother cannot. If the point of the story is that Ivy's mother needs to learn to let Ivy go, then Ivy's mother should be portrayed as being overbearing and learns throughout the episode that she should let go a bit. If, alternatively, the point of the story is that Ivy's mother knows what is best and Ivy needs to learn to respect that, then Felicia shouldn't be portrayed as overly critical. She should be portrayed as being a parent that is tough but knows what is best. Neither of these perspectives is bad or wrong, but one of them must be picked. Otherwise, we, as an audience, feel that we are being told two different things. If Felicia is portrayed as nitpicky, but is later shown to be in the right, it feels similar to a betrayal to the audience. We are told to believe one thing, and then are told to believe another. Empathy is not inherently wrong, but empathy comes from many different places. To realize one is wrong and work to understand someone is very relatable. And showing Ivy as following that journey will not, I think, result in us liking her less. Having flaws and overcoming them is something very admirable. The way to make this work is to find one perspective and stick to it. If a character in the end of a story learns to overcome their issues, then we as the audience should see in the beginning that this character could overcome their flaws. Zuko in Avatar is not portrayed as evil. He is portrayed as confused and conflicted. A teenager that we learn has a past filled with pain and a future rife with uncertainty. So, when he grows and becomes a better person, it feels satisfying. I also want to mention that your perspective can be that both parties are right and also wrong. A perspective does not need to be simplistic or one-sided, but the more complex a perspective, the harder it is to communicate. In Amphibia 226, if you want to portray Felicia and Ivy as both being right and wrong, it is more difficult and has more pitfalls. It can be more satisfying to convey a perspective with nuance, but it is also more challenging. This may have been what Amphibia was trying to communicate. I don't know for sure, but I do know that Amphibia has this problem in other places. Maddie is a great character, but is portrayed as scary and evil, and then is portrayed as kind and generous. This is unsatisfying, and feels like a betrayal of perspective. Amphibia does get better at this issue, but it still happens from time to time. This brings me to my main critique of Amphibia, and it relates to the previous issue I mentioned. I don't know how Amphibia feels about Anne. I don't know what Amphibia is trying to say about Anne and her journey. In my opinion, storytelling is creating a perspective and convincing the audience of that perspective. I see that Amphibia either has ambiguity in what it is trying to say, or its communication is unclear. To explain, at the end of the series, 333 through 335, Anne explains,
You know, before I ended up in Amphibia, I didn't care about right or wrong. I just did what was easy. I let people walk all over me. And I think that's because I didn't love myself. Not really. But meeting you three has changed all of that. And these months we've spent together have shown me the person I really want to be.
In my opinion, this seems intended to be an encapsulation of Anne's journey throughout the series, and the point it makes is a good one. It's one I really like, though I'm not as convinced that Anne has gone through the journey she talks about. In my view, in order to demonstrate this point, we need to properly communicate three things. First, Anne letting people walk all over her. Second, Anne's time in Amphibia teaching her to love herself. And 3, Anne in a better place, standing up for herself and taking action towards who she wants to be. Amphibia, on the surface, has all of these things. Let's look at Reunion 139 to 140. First, Anne is shown to be pushed around by Sasha. Next, Anne is shown to feel better about herself after Sprague stands up for her. Finally, Anne, having changed as a result of her time in Amphibia, stands up to Sasha. However, let's take a closer look at one of these moments. The issue is, if any one of these three pieces doesn't click, the story doesn't work. If Anne is never shown being taken advantage of, then there is no change or growth. If Anne is never shown changing as a result of Amphibia, then her change doesn't feel earned. And if Anne is never shown standing up for herself, her growth is never solidified. In my opinion, Amphibia falls into the first problem of not showing Anne letting people walk all over her, or at least not consistently. It is true that Anne is bullied by Sasha, and then Anne stands up to Sasha, but near the beginning of Reunion, there's a moment I'd like to highlight.
What you eatin'? A puke bun?
It's not a bun, Maggie. It's canoe bean, a traditional Thai snack made up of rice and coconut milk. My mom made it for me because it's my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday. Give me that!
Hey, get your own time off!
To me, if the story is trying to demonstrate that Anne lets people walk all over her, then to me it doesn't make sense to have her struggle to stop Maggie from taking her canoe bean. If we're demonstrating that Anne lets people walk all over her, then to me it makes more sense to have her be more passive and give Maggie her snack even though Anne really wants it. A second moment later reinforces this issue.
Family party, right? Lame. Let me guess. A clown with balloon animals?
I know it's not the coolest, but this is important to them.
My question is the party important to Anne? To me, if this moment is about Sasha walking over and shutting down what Anne cares about, then showing that care, in my opinion, is paramount. It can be that Anne cares about the party, or that Anne doesn't care about the party but cares about her parents, but to me, it must be communicated. In my opinion, this line doesn't talk really about either of that. To me, it doesn't answer the question of why Anne wants to go to the party. It simply shows that she feels like she has to. But why does she have to? Is she afraid that her parents will be mad at her? Does she fear that disapproval? What does she want? How does she feel about that? To me, these moments don't answer those fundamental questions about Anne and the journey we are on with her. And so, when Anne is shown caring about Sprague and standing up to Sasha, it doesn't feel like a change because we don't have a solid foundation of who Anne is and what she wants. For example, let's look at Gravity Falls. Dipper's whole journey in the series is that he wants to grow up too fast, and his time in Gravity Falls makes him appreciate childhood a bit more.
The reason there is a Grunkle Stan and the reason there is a Gravity Falls, it all exists for one reason, and that's as a way to make Dipper and Mabel, but specifically Dipper, grow with this issue he has, which is Dipper wants to grow up too fast.
Yep.
That's his flaw as a character, and it builds to a choice where he has a chance to sort of skip over childhood, and then he comes to appreciate childhood.
Yeah.
And when he returns from this summer, he's not in such a rush. He's not in such a rush to date Wendy and to be a government agent and all this stuff. Like,
right.
He's gained appreciation of this value. And to me, like, this one summer is designed to do that.
This is shown throughout the entire series. From Dipper's relationship with Wendy to Dipper's relationship with Ford, Dipper is shown to believe that being a kid sucks, and being an adult, or at least being older, would be so much better. But his time in Gravity Falls, his friendship with Wendy, his dilemma about Ford's offer, and his relationship and important bond with Mabel help him realize that he wants to appreciate childhood, and chooses to stick by Mabel's side. This culminates in him choosing to forgo the apprenticeship that Ford offers him, and this choice helps him save Mabel. All the pieces are here. Dipper is shown wanting to grow up too fast, Dipper's time in Gravity Falls helps him appreciate childhood, and this appreciation is shown helping him navigate the world better. I'm going a bit off script here. One thing I did want to mention is that moment in Reunion when Anne like gives her snack to Maggie, could be to demonstrate that Anne is like able to stand up for herself with people who are strangers, but isn't able to stand up for herself with people who are like close to her, which I feel like is sort of, I don't know, a bit more of a complex idea, because I feel like if if the point you're trying to convey is that you should be able to stand up to the people closest to you, that to me is almost more a critique of the people that you've chosen to be close to you, rather than sort of your ability to stand up for yourself. Like your judgment is bad in the people that you are choosing to be close to you. Because I don't know, I feel like letting people be close to you and letting people affect you is like, I don't know, it's a part of life. It's a part of, experience in the world. And I feel like a part of that is just having the judgment to recognize when people want your best interest and choosing people in your life that are like important and value you. And if that's the point that you're trying to convey, I feel like it still kind of falls flat, because I don't know, if to me, Amphibia as a series sort of shows Anne in this friend group where Sasha is sort of taking advantage of her, and then she sort of is put in this environment where she's like allowed to cultivate her like sense of self and allows her to stand up for herself a bit better. And so to me, in that sense, it's like, it seems like the journey that Anne is going on is going to be, oh, she's just like like she's a pushover. People take advantage of her all the time and like make her do things that she doesn't want to do because she doesn't have like an internalized sense of self and a sort of direction that she wants to go in. And like her environment with the planters has like given her that emotional space to sort of like grow and exist that she didn't have with either her parents or her friends, which is almost sort of her critique of her parents or a critique of her friends, that environment that they've sort of cultivated. And that's, I guess, sort of what I mean, is I feel like even if that's what you're trying to convey, that like Anne is able to stand up to strangers but not able to stand up to the people closest to her, it's still kind of a complex point that still doesn't exactly like work as well as I feel like it wants to. Anyway, that's Claire's thoughts. Funny enough, Amphibia actually has a character that has a clear issue, grows as a result of her time in Amphibia, and demonstrates that growth at the end of the series. It's Marcy. Marcy's issue is that she doesn't want to face the future and wants to run away. Her family is moving, and she uses the music box as a means of escaping her situation, of escaping her feelings, her relationship with that. Her journey in Amphibia, her encounter with the girls, her time in the core, helps her realize that things will change, but she is strong, and that she, after growing as a person, will be okay. I do think the message is a bit muddied. Marcy also comes to terms with her different desires from Anne and Sasha. Marcy's point of change doesn't result in like a large status quo change. And there's a speech about ultimately accepting change, but it comes from Anne, not from Marcy. But I still think Marcy is shown to grow, and that connects me with her feelings and her journey in Amphibia. Unfortunately, Marcy is gone from most of the series. She is introduced in the middle of Season 2, is trapped throughout all of Season 3, and comes back in the finale. I really like her as a character. I really enjoy seeing her growth and her perspective as she navigates the world. I wish I got to see her more. Hi everyone, this is Claire. Thanks for listening to this essay about Amphibia. This channel isn't really like a consistent thing. Like, I'm not like the video essay person. I kind of just like sometimes do video essays, sometimes I do music, sometimes I do edits, sometimes I don't know. But like, if you want to see more stuff that's just like me and just stuff that I make, I'll probably put it on here. So anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening to me talk about Amphibia for like a while. It's a show I will probably keep talking about because I like it. The research for this video took a lot, not like longer than I expected. I just like, I spent a lot of time like watching Amphibia, watching Avatar, watching Gravity Falls, thinking about the relationships. And it really helped me like develop, I don't know, my philosophies on storytelling, like my understanding of story structure. It's fascinating. Like the idea of like, I don't know, like a 3-season structure as like establish, develop, turn as like this concept is something that I also thought about. Also, one thing that I didn't even talk about in this essay is like the concept of like convincing rather than like showing or telling, because that's, a thing of like storytelling. It's like show, don't tell, or people are like, but sometimes it's better to tell stuff. And for me, I'm just like, it's just about convincing. You just need to convince the audience of your point, whatever is the best way to do that. If you're trying to convince somebody that somebody's old, if like somebody saying that is the best way to do that, then do that. If showing them that they're old is the best way to do that, then do that. It's just like, it's like inherently arbitrary only for the main point of convincing, like convincing the audience of the point you're trying to make. Convincing the audience of perspective. That's storytelling, baby. Convincing the audience of perspective. That's at least what I think it is. So, anyway, yeah, that's That's me. Yeah, see you in the next one. Guys, I forgot. I didn't even talk about how queer Amphibia is. Guys, it's so queer. I love it so much. It has a hat that says it's the lesbian hat, and Marcy is in love with Anastasia, and they're just a big polycule, and I love them, and they're wonderful. Let them kiss.